We were just starting to feel confident about travel again, maybe a little too confident. Things were settling into a new kind of normal, and then this happened.
Hey guys, just so you know, today's video is going to be very different from our usual type of video. Now normally we're sharing all the great stuff from our life of travel, and normally our videos are about a month behind our real life. So you'll see a video from Albania, but by the time it comes out, we're already in Spain. But not this time.
That's right. So today's video is as about real time as it gets for us. We're shooting this video just a day before it goes live. And the reason we're doing this is because we're kind of in a state of emergency right now. So just to back things up, you guys in our community know we're traveling full time, and we've been really committed to travel and this lifestyle of ours despite all of the ups and downs of the pandemic over the past couple of years.
So for this winter, all we wanted to do was find someplace relatively warm and sunny in Europe. That was our big goal. Spain and Portugal were two obvious choices for us since I've never been to either one.
So we were thinking, let's have 2 months in Spain and a month in Portugal, and that's our 90 days of Schengen time. And I think most of you know that the majority of countries in Europe are part of the Schengen zone. So as non-EU residents, we can spend a maximum of 90 days in the zone, and then we have to head somewhere else.
But since the weather is cold for longer than 90 days, we were thinking, where else can we go that's relatively close to Spain and Portugal, but that's not part of the Schengen? That's easy. It's Morocco.
So that was the plan, and with travel seeming to be getting a little more normal these days, we went ahead and we booked everything. I mean, everything. All the flights, all the Airbnbs. So we locked down December and January in Spain, we got February in Morocco, and then March in Portugal. And then while we were at it, we actually booked our travel all the way to May, if you can believe it. So we hadn't forgotten about COVID, but at the time, and this was way back in October, it kind of seemed like things were getting back on track. So people were getting vaccinated, borders were open, travel was back. But in retrospect, we were obviously getting a little too complacent.
And that brings us to today. But before we get into all of that, a big hello and Happy New Year from Valencia, Spain. If you're new around here, I'm Gillian and you've met Stephanie. We're traveling the world full time in spite of this pandemic that seems to be really sticking around. So while we've been here in Spain, the latest wave has really taken off. It's been shocking. At first we weren't feeling too worried about it. Then Morocco shut down all flights in and out of the country, and our plans for February went into the toilet.
So the good news, we were able to cancel our Morocco Airbnb without any penalty, which was a huge relief. But that brings us to the big question that we're dealing with right now. Where in the world are we going to spend February?
It's not an easy question to answer. We're traveling with these two dogs, so we can't wait until the last minute to make up our minds. Everything needs to be planned well in advance. And for every single flight we book, we literally need to spend hours on the phone with airlines just to make sure we can bring these little guys along.
So right now we're mulling over a few potential scenarios. February is just a few weeks away and literally nothing's been planned. So we're gonna lay it all out for you today and let us know, give us your input. Where do you think we should spend February? So the only caveats are that it has to be outside the Schengen zone, but relatively easy to get to from Spain. All right, let's talk options. So our first option, we could go to Portugal in February right after our 2 months in Spain, but since we're already booked to be there in March, that would put us well over the 90-day Schengen zone limitation. So Portugal does have a process for requesting a visa extension, and we could try for that and hope for the best.
So the pro with this plan is that we won't have to travel too far, just hop the border from Spain to Portugal, and it would keep our flying to a minimum over the coming months. The con though, if we can't get an extension and we haven't heard too many examples, success stories, then we'll have to leave Portugal at the end of February and give up our March booking. That would be really expensive. What do you think?
So I really don't want to leave my fate in the hands of whoever happens to be manning the desk at the immigration office. That one seems very risky and possibly very expensive to me, so I'm not in favor of it, although I do love the idea of just being in two countries over this very pandemic-y time.
So for the next option, we could go somewhere else in Europe, outside the Schengen zone, which basically means Eastern Europe. We're talking Croatia, Serbia, maybe Bulgaria.
Okay, the pros for these. These are all relatively close to Spain. It's just a couple short flights away. They're all low cost of living countries. So we could basically find a nice apartment, hunker down for the month, wait out the pandemic, be very comfortable. But there are some cons to these as well. Mainly, these are all very cold countries during the winter. I mean, really freezing cold, definitely snow on the ground. So these are the kind of temperatures that we're really hoping to avoid by heading south over the winter. And we're not prepared for this weather at all. I mean, we're Canadians, but right now we just have down puffers, we don't have scarves, we don't have proper gloves, we don't have proper winter boots. So what do you think?
Well, if the weather's that cold, it means we're going to be spending a lot of time indoors, and we don't want to be mixing and mingling with other people indoors, so it's a lot of time at home alone in our Airbnb.
That's true. And then the other thing is that we were just in Serbia. We had a lovely time. We were in Croatia last year. Also a lovely time, but we were just there. Now, Bulgaria is a country we would love to visit, but we kind of wanted to visit in the summer when we could go hiking and really take advantage of everything the country has to offer, not when there is snow on the ground and we're shivering.
Yeah.
Okay, option number 3. We could try to chase some warm weather and head further out to someplace like Cyprus or the coast of Turkey.
So the pros for this, we'd be back in mild temperatures, enjoying outdoor activities instead of being in the chilly Balkans. Now, Cyprus is a totally new destination for us, which is an exciting idea, someplace new to discover. And also, Turkey is going through some currency issues right now, so our dollar would go very far.
Jillian loves it when our dollar goes far.
On the cons, though, these places are harder to get to from Sevilla, connecting flights for sure. And we already spent a few months in Turkey over the past 2 years, so I'm not sure that I want to head back there just yet. Cyprus, on the other hand, it's a complete unknown, so we'd have to do a lot of research to come up with an itinerary from scratch.
So for my part, I love the idea of going to either of those two countries, but I'm very aware that the south of Turkey on the coastal side of things, and also Cyprus as a whole, these are really sunshine destinations. So people go there during the warm weather for the beaches. And we've spent a lot of time in places that are for beach weather, off season, and it can be a little lonely there. So there are not a lot of other tourists around, which can be nice, but it's nice to see a bit of life in a place.
Yeah.
So those are the options that we've come up with. We're probably missing something. There's probably somewhere else we haven't considered. So over to you guys. We're thinking February, non-Schengen zone. Where in the world should we go?
Please tell us.
Of course, we have every confidence that we will figure things out, and we're going to be somewhere, and it's going to be great. And we're finally learning our lesson. So it just took 4 waves of a pandemic, but we get it now. We're in a pandemic. It is going to last for a few years. It's not an easy time to be a traveler, and it's definitely not a good time to be planning too far ahead.
The funny thing is, we were in a very similar situation around the same time last year. All the borders were shutting down, and we had no idea where we'd end up. In fact, we turned it into a guessing game for our community, so you can check out the next video here and see if you can guess which country we ended up in.